Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Anthony.
Today we'll talk a bit about how long to transfer real estate after death. So the short and dirty answer is there's no legal time limit. It can happen within as soon as possible, or it can take years, which we've seen cases where, grandchildren or great-grandchildren finally decide to transfer the real estate from grandpa's name.
Yes.
But in general, as soon as possible is ideal, because in the meantime, many problems can emerge. But even if you're trying to transfer the real estate as soon as possible, there's a lag between when somebody passes away and the soonest possible date you can get legal authority to control, maintain, and just handle the property. So we'll talk about some of those issues, and they come up often, and how you can best deal with that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get preliminary letters. And okay, how long does it take to get preliminary letters? So first, what are they? Preliminary letters are you don't have full authority. As you may know, letters testamentary are your court certificate that give your executor the full authority to handle the estate. Preliminary letters give you the authority to collect and manage properties, but not to distribute to heirs.
Correct.
It's like
just
everything up
gives
to
you a limited authority, very, very, very limited authority.
But that authority is important if you need to get into an apartment with a leaky pipe or things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, you should be able to get these within a week, sometimes even the same day if you have some super urgent situation. But to be honest, or to be realistic, it has not been that fast.
No.
So even when we've had situations where our decedent's property was leaking into a neighbor, or there was an exterminator issue, and we thought there was not rodents, but pests,
Pets.
potentially not leaking, but whatever, affecting neighboring units.
Yeah.
It still took us weeks to get our preliminary letters, not our full letters. And we explained, and I'm kind of complaining here, but we explained it to the court, and it still takes a long time.
Exactly. I mean, when we say explained, we called daily and filed things often, and it still took weeks.
So the process on the legal books, on the statute exists, but just don't rely on it. Is kind of our point here.
Yes.
And then
don't expect it in the same day.
And then if you have a probate where there is no super urgent situation, I mean, you're probably not going to get preliminaries. If they're not even getting to the ones where we have leaks and exterminators, I mean, just being realistic there.
Right.
Okay, so then, you don't have legal authority immediately or within even the weeks following passing. What can you do, or how can you prevent a foreclosure on that inherited property? Because nobody wants to have to deal with undoing a foreclosure proceeding that has legal costs and other implications.
Yes.
So number one, notify the lender. You don't have the authority to tell them, if you tell them, hey, I hope to be the executor, I'm letting you know that somebody is taking care of this, that at least has some value. They can't legally give you statements or balances or any information, but at least they're aware somebody's trying to work on this.
Correct.
Because all too often, letting them know. Nobody's doing anything, and they just go straight to hiring their local foreclosure counsel because they want to get paid.
Well, they assume that someone's living there and not paying.
Exactly.
That is their assumption. So if they don't know otherwise, they'll continue down the path.
And when you hear the word foreclosure, you're probably thinking mortgage or something along those lines. But most people don't realize that your homeowners association or condo or co-op board will also take action that's sometimes in the form of a foreclosure because their bills have not been getting paid.
Correct.
So in the same vein, you don't have a legal authority to speak to them, or they don't have a legal authority to speak or to communicate with you, but you can let them know, hey, we're in the process of starting probate. It's in the court system. Just be patient and know that somebody's moving this along. Yeah.
Correct.
So those are two big ones, but make sure you also look up any other potential lien holders. Sometimes there's mechanics liens, or I don't know, a family member who has a non-bank mortgage on the property. Just make sure they know so nobody else starts a process that will be costly to undo. Yeah.
Right. And you would be surprised what a letter would do, right? Just to notify them. Because again, they don't know that someone's passed. Even inside of a co-op, the doorman might know, but not the property manager that oversees it, that's not even in the same state. So
great point. So lastly, what can you do when the property owner dies and you don't have the full or even preliminary letters testamentary? What can you do? Or can't you do? Let's go through some of these. So you can't forward the mail. The post office needs some kind of legal authority to get that started.
Correct.
You most likely can't change the locks or secure the property. That's kind of a gray area. If you're in a managed building or homeowners association, they will bar you from coming in and doing that. But if it's a house, you might have the squishy gray
ish area.
Yeah. I mean, but if there's any risk that it's going to be a contested probate, do not change the locks. You can get in trouble, especially here in New York. You might be able to get away with winterizing or otherwise securing the property if you're worried about, like, let's say, newspapers piling up on the porch, or things that would make it attractive to thieves or vandals. You may be able. Again, you don't have legal authority to because you don't have your letters. But these are things probably most folks won't. No court's gonna get on your case too much about that.
Right, about moving the newspapers to a nice pile that can't be seen, or maybe even cutting the grass. Right, I guess you could, just to make it look like
exactly
somebody's there. Yeah.
And then you mentioned before, Janice, the doorman or the super or other sort of related folks who are not the property manager or not the lender. Let them know, because it'll just be strong in your communication. It helps everything move more smoothly, and it helps prevent bigger problems from percolating. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I said, you can't do much, but if they at least know, then they would keep an eye out if something looks off, or
And then lastly, you may be able to assess if any immediate, big catastrophic repairs are needed. You probably won't get access to the interior of an apartment or house.
Right.
But again, if you're speaking to the super or doorman, they can let you know what's going on informally. Again, you don't have legal authority for them to communicate with you, but they can let you know, like, okay, I'm glad we've had this before. I'm glad somebody is working on this because there's a leak.
Right.
There's a pest problem. Or if it's a house, I mean, just from peeking through the windows or looking from a distance, you can see, hey, that tree is about to fall, or that roof does not look solid, things like that.
Right. There's a hole in the roof and we need to cover it. It's about to rain. That's things you can see from the outside. I think the key to what you're saying here is communication. Yeah. You may not be able to get everything you need or have the authority, but just communicating preliminarily might stop a lot of the problems.
That's exactly the whole point. You don't have legal authority to do things, and there's that sort of gap period when somebody passes and when you do get that legal authority. But here's what you can do. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Anthony's book, How Probate Works, will walk you through some of the stuff that you're going to have to do, once you get these letters and preliminarily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot of these situations where folks have property to deal with when somebody passes away. Very common. Everyone wants to be a homeowner. So we're going to try to address more of these types of issues and help, or actually respond to questions we're getting and share them. Share the answers with you. Yeah.
And please always, if you have these questions, send us an email, leave them in the comments. But these are all great. This is where this comes from, is from the listeners. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone, for listening and responding as always. Thank you, Janice. And we will talk soon next time.
Talk soon.